Schedule a Zoom with me at GCExperts.com/Zoom.
Hello.
Good morning, Sam. Sean Reitmeyer, GC Experts. Fantastic. Tell me about why you're interested in federal contracts.
We had something that happened over in our area. There's a local military base. It was actually a National Guard armory. And anyway, it came out for a competitive bid. And I noticed the criteria on it was a little stiffer than I've seen in the past on that type of project. Like they gave it a weighted score that threw a lot more points into the service disabled category than I've seen. And previously we won projects out there, but this one was really like they did a number on it. And we didn't end up turning in, but I knew what our number would have been. And like 4 or 5 people, and they stepped over everybody to go to the highest price guy. They paid like a $2 million premium to go to them. And it's just because they had that certification, I think. The other guys were good.
Okay,
but, I mean,
you got two things that could be happening there. One is, are you familiar with the term lowest price technically acceptable?
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, you sound like you're younger than me, so forgive me, but back in the 80s, almost all federal contracts were called IFBs, invitation for bid.
Uh-huh.
And there was a funniest joke. If you ever saw the movie Armageddon, Steve Buscemi's laying back in that space shuttle as it's about to go to space, and he goes, "Oh my God, this is built by the lowest bidder." And IFBs were famously the lowest bidder, and the joking side of that was the lowest bidder, I mean, sucker gets it. And but what happened is the federal government started realizing that the lowest bid isn't always the best value. And so what they started doing was changing things to RFQs and RFPs, requests for quotes, requests for proposals. And what that allowed them to do was this scoring that you're talking about, where they could do what's called lowest price technically acceptable, where the government could pay more if the perception was that there was more value.
No, I get that.
Okay, I pretty much figured out that you had that, but there's a second side to this thing, and that's the 3% set aside for service disabled veteran-owned companies.
Uh-huh.
So what could have happened, of course, you'd have to interview somebody in the federal government. Typically how that happens is through a debrief. I'm not sure if you've ever done one of those before. Uh-huh. But you could, they have to set aside 3% to service disabled. That's by federal budget laws. And so what may have happened is maybe they didn't meet their quota. You come along, bid this thing, and all of a sudden this guy who has that certification comes along and he just hits the lottery because they had to meet that budget.
Right.
And I think based on what you told me that, because you're telling me, hey, I'm paying attention to what's happening out there, and all of a sudden we have this, quote, outlier, okay? And the outlier may very well have been, holy shit, we need to meet our quota, and we need to award this thing to an SDVOSB company.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, it's plausible.
Yeah. I'm looking at the questionnaire, and there are some aspects of this that are gray areas. They could rate you plus or minus some other guy based on this information, but it was mainly the percentage. I don't know. I'll have to look through this thing again, but there are some things that stuck out to me where I've seen plenty of different kind of competitive skill proposals where, you see grading criteria But this one was, I mean, really, it really harmed you if you hadn't been doing a significant amount of federal military work of that size, and you weren't a service disabled vet. And so, I mean, just mathematically, you look at it and you go, apples to apples, I will never, I would have to be so much lower than the guy who has those criteria met.
Yeah.
It's infeasible.
Even if it's 10%, in that case, that was $200,000, and I'm imagining it was a lot more than that.
Yeah. So it kind of, I don't know, that both annoys me, and it also says like, oh, well, then I'm always looking to get into markets with smaller, maybe it's a higher barrier to entry, but once you're in there, it's good work. It's time.
Well, but here's the other side of that thing. You gotta keep in mind, I did 1,000 federal contracts, $1 billion worth of revenue, and I only operated in full and open competition. Now, it's not to say that I didn't make handshake deals over time with some certain set-asides. Particularly in the 90s, HubZone came along, and that was a pretty good deal. And so, and then I for a while, we did a little bit of work with SDVOSB, but, nearly 100% of my career was full and open competition. Because keep in mind, you're not the first person with this idea, right? Oh, if I had the SDVOSB, I could go after a lower competition. Well, it's 3% of the playing field, and boy, is it a lot of competition within that 3%, because, again, you're not the first person to come up with this idea. I mean, I talk to people, I want to say 4 times a week, that are trying to get after those SDVOSB. And my position has always been, what's wrong with the other 97%? And when I say 97%, you sound like you're a local contractor trying to go after local federal work, but you have a SAM registration. That doesn't prevent you from doing work in Alaska, Washington, Maine, New York. You don't have to self-perform.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. What's the best? If I were to start. If I were to start looking at, because yeah, you're right. I mean, I could send a guy pretty much anywhere. I can send him to do a project if we wanted in Alaska, if we wanted to do that. But what's
Sam? Consider this for a second. If you had to, you understand that all federal awards are public information, right?
Yeah.
So no chance I'd be lying to you about an award, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to replace your 3-ton air conditioner at your house, how much would you expect to pay?
Yeah, I mean, just the material cost would be $5,000 probably.
Okay, but how much would you... Look, there's no wrong answers. Just tell me a number.
Oh, I don't know. Material and labor, let's say $6,000. Okay,
$6,000. The last 3-ton air conditioner I sold to the federal government, I sold it for $107,000. Okay? Any chance I'm lying to you? Do you believe I can show you the award?
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Okay, that job was in Alaska at the Jeff Soapy Museum. I called a local HVAC company. They went out there, and I didn't care whether he charged me $7,000, $15,000, or even $30,000. He charged me $15,000. I made $40,000 an hour for my time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess I could look at being. That looks like you're on the retail side of things almost. Like you're working.
Look, I've done everything. I've done wind tunnels for NASA. I did an $8 million generator rehab project at San Clemente Island for the Navy SEALs out there.
What kind of so you did that under your own business? Or
yes. Yes, I've always been a prime, 100%.
Oh, okay.
The smallest job I ever did was a $7,000 dehumidifier at the rare book vault for the Coast Guard at a museum in San Francisco.
Okay.
But that was because my dad and I wanted to see what was inside that rare book vault.
Well, what made you get out of the business?
There was a massive accident. My brother was in a boating accident in the middle of Lake Travis in Austin, Texas, in the middle of the night, and he had a golf ball sized portion of his brain removed. And we ended up building a brain rehab center in his home. There's a whole story about it. I could send you over. It made ABC News. Yeah, it was a pretty traumatic accident. So yeah, we switched over to the training side of things about 5 years later when Obama issued the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. That was also during the recession, the housing crisis. And the Austin American Statesman wrote an article that said the construction industry had gone to shit. And my dad and I took exception to that because, Obama had issued $150 billion to stimulate the economy, but $47 billion got pulled out because there weren't enough federal contractors to bid the work. In other words, I don't know if you've looked at sam.gov, but in the construction category, there's only 25,000 registered federal contractors. I'm assuming you're one of them. And we had figured out that of the 25,000 that are registered, only 3,000 are regularly getting federal contracts.
Huh.
And
Yeah, I'm registered, but I've never used it. So,
wow. Have you heard of Bid Tracker, the system I developed?
yeah.
Yeah, in Bid Tracker, we set it up to where a contractor could fill his pipeline looking for work in less than 5 minutes a day. But anyway, so the girl that wrote that article asked us if we would write an article about the opportunity in the federal market. So we did that, and then that got published. And what we didn't know was when an article gets published, it can get republished, which that happened to our article. It got picked up in Commercial Construction Renovation magazine, and then some speaker guy named Jacob Kroll up in Dallas read that article in the magazine, figured out how to contact us, asked us if we would come speak on stage at one of his events. So all of a sudden we're on stage, and my dad, at the end of the speech, he says, I'll take 10 contractors into a room and teach you everything you need to know to be successful in the federal market. Well, that was a room of 110 people. He got bum rushed, took $100,000 worth of checks. We're driving home, and I'm like, what the fuck was all that about? And he says, listen, he's explaining this Obama problem, this American Reinvestment Recovery Act problem. He says, I'm just the guy to fix that. And that was really what started GCExperts. And so we went up and taught those guys. Of course, if you go in usaspending.gov, you can track the people that you teach. Are they winning federal contracts? Well, shit, I started tracking those guys, and they got well over $1 billion in federal contracts. And so, yeah, obviously our stuff works. But yeah, I've got a proof page, gcexperts.com/proof. And if you go there, you can see videos of us actually teaching these guys, and then they're talking in the videos. But underneath there, I gave their public profile for the awards that they've gotten.
Yeah.
So I call it my indisputable proof page.
Okay. Well, how does your what I'd like to do is, rather than get into something farther off from what I'm doing right now, I want to find the thing that's closest to what I'm doing to start with, and look for opportunities.
Well, if you're already doing federal contracts, then you're already.
I'm really not. I've looked in there a lot of it's all the federal stuff that I've been interested in is on the military bases here in Texas, like up at Fort Hood or Vazos, whatever the hell they're calling it now, and
Yeah.
then there's one over in San Angelo, but those
Yeah, Goodfellow Air Force Base. I've done a lot of work out there. Yeah.
I think a lot of their stuff is actually through the county, but anyway, yeah, I kind of want to just educate myself and figure out what the best opportunity is, because I don't have like a lot of purchasers, and I don't want to do this work myself. I just want to see what I can push into sort of our existing pipeline, and what kind of, maybe see how competitive it is. I know, it's my brother. It's it's a relative of mine. Anyway, they do primarily military base work over $10 million.
Okay.
And all the work that I've seen on those bases, I mean, it's really a culture and a language all its own. I mean, when I read through the spec books, all the crap that you have to do for these military projects.
Yep.
And how sticklers they are and how they can really screw you over. Like there seems to be almost some animosity where like they're looking to find a way to screw you over if you don't do everything perfect.
Okay, I understand how it can seem that way. But here's where you're wrong. Every single federal contract is governed by a rule book. Do you know what that rule book is called?
Oh, yeah.
The Federal Acquisition Regulations.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it turns out that the Federal Acquisition Regulations is the book that levels the playing field if you understand how to use it. You have a few minutes?
Sure.
Are you in front of a computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we start this exercise, I want your commitment that you're not going to read faster than where I tell you to read, because I want to explain everything like a 5-year-old so that you really understand what I'm about to teach you. So, as an example, if you go out today and you go put 100 quotes out in the world, is there anything legal associated with those quotes, or are they just quotes?
Is there anything legally associated with them?
Yeah, if you go down to 100 businesses down the street and you give them a quote to renovate their business, is there anything legal associated with those quotes, or are they just quotes?
I don't know. It depends what type of quote it is. I mean, yes, many of our quotes do have a lot of legal things attached to them.
I understand that, but if you go in there and rip it up, was there anything legal that happened there? It's just a quote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's just a voluntary quote, and
there's nothing legal associated with it. It's just a quote. Now, I want you to Google FAR, F-A-R, 13.004, but don't click on it.
Okay.
What does it say there?
Oh, it just says, it gives parentheses A, B, and C.
FAR, F-A-R, 13.004. The first thing that pops up, there's a title. What does that title say?
I've not Google searched. Oh, legal effect of quotations.
Okay, stop right there. Legal effect of a quotation. So look, a quote in your world is nothing legal associated with, just a quote. But a quote for the federal government, the word is legal effect of, implying that there's something legal associated with it, and that's different. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, now click that link. Now I want you to read the first sentence out loud, but stop at the period.
Okay. A quotation is not an offer and consequently cannot be accepted by government to form a binding contract.
Okay. So right there, the very first sentence of the legal effect of a quotation says that when you turn in a quote, they cannot turn it into a contract. Period. That's the law. Okay. Now that's different from out in the real world where if you give a quote to a business and you've signed it and they sign it, what do you now have?
Yeah, you got a quote.
You have a contract. Okay? But the first sentence of the legal effect of a quotation says that they cannot turn it in. Now I want you to read the second sentence out loud. Stop at the period.
Therefore, issuance by the government of an order in response to a supplier's quotation does not establish a contract.
Now, that's legalese. It's written by attorneys, but let me explain to you what that means. Our federal government understands that not every procurement official understands sentence number 1. And someday they might take your quote and they might turn it into a contract.
Uh-huh.
What they're saying in sentence 2 is that if that happens to you, don't worry about it. It's still not a contract. Now that I've explained it to you, do you agree that's what sentence number 2 says?
Sure.
Okay. Now I want you to read the rest of the paragraph and stop at the end of it.
All right. The order is an offer by the government to the supplier to buy certain supplies or services upon specified terms and conditions. Contract is established when the supplier accepts the offer. Okay.
So what do you think that means? It's legalese, and it's not really interpretable by just an everyday contractor, is it?
Yeah, no, that's odd.
Okay, it is odd. So let me explain to you what this really means. Let's say that the National Park Service in the Shenandoah National Park wants to build a 200 square foot tiny house so that they can put their rangers up for the winter. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a federal contractor. You're a federal contractor. We come across this thing and we go, you know what? I'm going to give them a quote for $100,000.
Okay.
So I turn in my quote to the National Park Service. Can they take my quote and turn it into a contract?
Apparently not.
No, they can't. What that last part of that paragraph says is they have to offer it back to the supplier of the quote. That's me. I know that sounds weird, but how that happens in real life is I turn my quote in for $100,000. They get my quote. They have to contact me back. And they have to say, hey, we got your quote for $100,000 to build this 200 square foot tiny house. Would you please accept an offer for us for you to build this 200 square foot tiny house for $100,000? I know that sounds weird, but by law, that's what they have to do. Okay?
Okay, so legally, I'm not offering them anything. They are offering me based on
your offer.
Their interpretation.
No, your offer. It has nothing to do with interpretation yet. But they have to offer it back to you. Now, when they contact you, and I say contact because sometimes they'll call you, sometimes they'll email you. But when they contact you, it turns out you have 4 options. You're going to want to write this down.
Okay.
Number 1, you can accept. You can say, well, hell yeah, we'll take the deal. The moment you do that, it becomes a contract. Number 2, you can withdraw. Oh man, we got busy since we turned that bid in. Sorry, you're going to have to move on to the next guy. You can withdraw every bid you ever turned in. Number 3, you can negotiate. I know I turned that in for $100,000. We actually need to change that to $130,000.
I'm not sure. Are you totally sure this is correct? I thought you had to send in a bid bond.
Whoa. We're not talking about a bid bond.
Yeah, but you can't withdraw if you have a bid bond out there.
We're not talking about a bid bond. We're talking about a standard RFQ.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If you want to talk bid bonds, we'll get there.
Okay.
Now, you can withdraw, and then you can negotiate.
Okay.
And you can stall.
Okay.
So, let's just continue on with this. And we can get to, I'll let you ask all the questions you want to ask after I finish this.
Okay.
So when I get a phone call from them on this $100,000 tiny house, the first thing I say is, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting your call. Can I call you back in 24 to 48 hours? In other words, stall. Now what I'm doing is I'm calling a contractor. Let's just say in this example, you. Here's what that phone call sounds like. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
I'm Sam.
Sam. Okay. Hi, Sam. My name's Sean. I'm a national federal contractor. I do everything from wind tunnels, water treatment plants to kitchen renovations. I'm calling you today about this 200 square foot tiny house. What I'd like to do is send you over the plans and specifications, and when you get them, you don't even have to look at them. All I want you to do is pick up the phone and call me back and say you've got them, and I'm going to walk you through the job step by step because I'm already familiar with the job and I can bring you up to speed real quick. So I send over the plans and specs, you get them, you pick up the phone, you call me, and I walk you through the job. And then I say, hey, Sam, I'm not asking you to bid every 2x4, every electrical outlet, every roofing shingle. What I'm asking you is, based on your experience, if you had to give me a number off the cuff that if I called you up 90 days from today and said, hey, Sam, we got the job, that we'd be close enough to negotiate something that makes sense for both of us. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm taking the pressure off of you so that you can give me a number off the cuff. I'm not holding you to it, Sam. I'm not asking for a quote, give me a piece of paper or anything. I'm just asking, in your experience, how much to build the 200 square foot tiny house. So, Sam, under those conditions, give me a number. There's no wrong answer. Just give me a number. How much to build the 200 square foot tiny house?
I don't know, $100,000.
Okay, holy shit! I turned my bid. This is what I'm thinking. I turned my bid in for 100,000. The guy that knows how to build it is telling me 100,000. So I'm gonna have to go back to the government and change my price from 100 to 130 because I can negotiate every single time I turn in bid. So that's one scenario. Now let's try another scenario. Hey Sam, how much to build the 200 square foot tiny house? Give me a different number.
Yeah, 150,000.
Holy shit, I turned my bid in for 100 grand. This guy's telling me 150 grand. I need to withdraw my bid and get out of this thing. Give me another scenario.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, in reality, how much to build a 200 square foot tiny house?
Maybe 50,000.
Yeah, probably. Okay. And that's the guy I'm looking for is the guy that will build it for 50,000 because I'm in it for 100. He's going to do it for 50. And then what's my next phone call once I confirm that?
Yeah, accept.
Accept. That's right. Call the contracting officer and accept the deal. Okay.
Okay.
Now, was I at any risk for the bid that I turned in?
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not. Okay. Now, we started this conversation with you, this part of the conversation with you saying, man, they're always trying to get you. They're always trying. Okay. And what I'm giving you one example of how the federal acquisition regulations protect contractors.
Okay.
Okay. And I can give you probably 1,000 more.
Okay. All right.
Now that you understand that, ask me any question you want to ask me.
I guess the main one, the main difficulty that I have with a lot of these, with the FAR, with all of this stuff, if you haven't done it before, if you haven't gone onto a military base and had to obey all the rules and know exactly what the workflow is, just like this, you read through some of their stuff, and there's definitely legalese behind it, and you're like, how should I interpret this?
Yes.
And what is it actually going to be like coming up to speed, trying to work on one of these, the military base projects that we've done in the past are actually run through like the county. and you don't. It's not. It's like a regular job. It's pretty much like a regular job. I mean, but the projects that I've seen were that are not run by the county, that were run by the federal government. I just need to know what all the requirements are to operating and not having any pitfalls, and truly understand what I'm getting into.
Okay, so let's start with, you know what a SAM registration is, right?
Yeah, I've got my SAM registration. I'm not sure it's totally accurate.
That's okay, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you and I are going to play a game, and I'm going to give you the answer to the question before I ask you the question. Are you ready for the answer?
Sure.
The answer is SAM registration. Ready to play?
Sure.
There's one thing and one thing only required to be a federal contractor, and that is a... Okay, you're a slow one. We'll start over. I'm going to give you the answer to the question before I ask you the question. Are you ready for the answer?
Sure.
SAM registration. Ready to play?
Okay.
There's one thing and one thing only required to be a federal contractor, and that is a...
Yeah, SAM registration.
Okay, so if you sell cake mix to the Navy so they can make cakes on ships, what do you need?
Yeah, SAM registration.
If you sell bullets or aircraft parts or even construction goods and services, what do you need?
Yeah, SAM registration, which
okay.
Which I have. I'm not really interested in selling any of those items.
I know that. Play along with me, man. You're talking to a guy who's done $1 billion worth of work with the federal government. You think I got a couple of things I can teach you?
Yeah, no, I just...
All right, let's play the other side of the game. I'm going to give you 3 scenarios. Before I do this, I got to ask you one question. If you and I are walking through a neighborhood and I point to the top of a power pole and say, that's a transformer, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Scenario number 1. The transformer shall be replaced by a licensed electrician in the state of Texas. Now, under that scenario, it has nothing to do with the guy that got the job. All he needed was a SAM registration. But the actual work has to be performed by a licensed electrician in the state of Texas. So you have to coordinate that. Okay?
Sure.
Scenario number 2. The transformer shall be replaced by a licensed electrician. Well, now any licensed electrician from any state can go into Texas and replace that transformer. Again, it has nothing to do with the guy that got the job. This is eminent domain property. There's no such thing as a state inspector going on to a federal job.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. I guess what I've been looking at, what I've been seeing to bid on, like the National Guard base, must be a hybrid of that, because you have to have a bid bond. You have to have, in fact, you have to write a narrative with the experience that you have doing that exact same thing, not as a prime general contractor. And so all this stuff that you're talking about really doesn't apply to what the kind of projects that I've been seeing.
Who's actually writing the check on the jobs that you've been doing? It's either the Department of Treasury or it's not.
I don't know. I can show you the grading criteria and how it lays out, and you very much have to have experience in that area. You're graded on.
I'm not talking about the. We'll talk about the experience. Let me come back to the experience. Okay, scenario number 3. The transformer shall be replaced. Now that literally means that you and I can go out there and replace the transformer on a Saturday. Okay?
Yeah.
Now that's how I can tell you that I've done $1 billion worth of work with the federal government. I have never had a license of any kind other than a driver's license. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. In Texas, you don't have to have a license to be a general contractor. So I see what you're saying.
Okay. Let's go on
I
to
see
your
what you're saying.
experience thing. I want you to Google FAR 15.305. FAR 15.305.
Okay.
Okay, now I want you to go ahead and click on the link and then go to section number 2, like the actual number 2, and then go to section III underneath number 2.
Wait, we're doing 15.32 or 15.2?
15.305.
Okay. Proposal evaluation.
Now go to section 2 and go to section III and read that the whole paragraph out loud.
The solicitation shall describe the approach for evaluating past
No,
performance.
you're in the wrong place. You go to number 2 and then underneath number 2, III.
Oh, I did. Evaluation shall take into account past performance information regarding predecessor companies, key personnel of relevant experience, or subcontractors that will perform major or critical aspects of the requirement when such information is relevant to the instant acquisition.
Okay, what that means is if I've never done an overhead door job and I want to bid on an overhead door job, and I go in there saying that we intend to use ABC roll-up doors, they still have to consider me even though I've never done a roll-up door.
Yeah, because of the or subcontractors part.
That's right.
Okay.
Are you getting the idea? You're talking to an expert?
Yeah. I'm still saying though that the solicitation that I responded to, like you, the sheets that you have to fill out for the grading criteria, if you have not built a military base.
Look, I can't tell you. Your pushback seems to be coming back from the perspective of I did work for the county. And I can't tell you anything about city, county, state jobs. I would never attempt to ever do that. The federal government pays in 14 days. On every single job you've ever done, were you getting paid in 14 days?
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. On every job you ever did, were you getting paid in 14 days?
No, but for me, it really doesn't matter. I mean,
no, I understand that, but the reason I'm asking you is that tells me right away that it wasn't a federal job, okay? Because the federal government is mandated by law to pay you within 14 days. It's called the Federal Prompt Payment Act.
Okay. Well, maybe then this project that I'm speaking to you about really doesn't relate to the kind of work that you're going after then.
That's right. So none of the federal acquisition regulations are going to come into play if it's not a federal job.
Okay.
Now, I do know that the state of Texas recently changed up what they call hub, and understand that what the state calls hub, historically underutilized business, okay, is completely different than what the federal government calls hub. Okay.
This is what I was wondering, because they're dismantling the hub program, and the only thing they're keeping is the service disabled.
That's right, and that explains the confusion at the beginning of this phone call when you're saying, "Hey, I want to team up with an SDV company," because that's hub related to county jobs. Okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm getting a lot of phone calls related to that, but I didn't interpret that from what you were talking about, because you started off saying that, hey, there's this military base. Okay.
Yeah, there's really two issues, because that's the other big question mark, because it's like TxDOT work, which we do a huge amount of, and also Health and Human Services.
Mm-hmm.
They dip their feet into federal money. Like I'm doing it's like $35 million job, and they asked me for my SAM registration, which was never It was actually never in any of the bid documents, but apparently they're getting federal money, so somehow, some way, they needed my cage code and my SAM registration and all that, which is probably just, it's on their end, it's not on my end. So, but I guess it doesn't really matter as much, other than say, we're in more of the state stuff than the federal stuff right now, and really that's one thing I'm trying to see how we benefit from.
Well, I mean, the benefits are incredible. I mean, you're talking about the lowest competition in construction, period.
Yeah. And so and that's my real question. How do I partner? And I look online and say, how do I partner with an 8A company? And now 8A is only taking a meaning service disabled. And I know there's a few different ways to go about that. And I've heard about guys who created, basically shell companies and or this mentor protege program or just a number of things to, for a company like mine to operate.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the joint venture part is out right now. It used to be that you could do a joint venture with an 8A and slide in with that, and now you can't do that. So,
there's a lot of confusion out there. Let me clarify a couple of things. Number one is, for God's sakes, write this down, the MCC lawsuit. Okay? Go Google that and learn everything you can about the MCC lawsuit, because that guy got in a shit tons of trouble. And I believe he got put away in federal prison. So you're going to want to go read that in great detail before you start any part of the journey towards trying to get involved with some 8A companies and some set-aside type companies. Okay, make sure you fully understand that lawsuit before you take any steps towards that direction. Second of all, there's nothing illegal about joint ventures, and of course they are 100% accepting joint ventures all the time. So anybody who told you that is 100% wrong.
Well, I wonder if it might be here in Texas.
Well, okay, I can't comment on city, state, county. I'm not in that world. I'm only in the federal world. Okay. And what was the other thing I took exception to that you said?
Here's the one thing that I'm reading about joint ventures. 8A for joint ventures, 8A firms can form JVs with other small or large businesses to bid on larger contracts. They couldn't individually. So maybe
that's right. There's nothing wrong with joint ventures.
Okay.
They happen all the time.
All right. Do you have experience in that? If we were to do a joint venture and try to get the benefit from that, I think.
Of course, I've done 1,000 federal contracts and I've mentored companies. Of course, the answer is yes. However, what's the best way to explain this? Okay, here I have an analogy. Suppose that you're starting out today, brand new, and you're going to be Sam's Flooring Company, and you got only basic hand tools, and you go in and you talk somebody into letting you put flooring in their house. And can you imagine that as you're doing the flooring, you'd be thinking to yourself, man, if I had an electric saw, boy, if I just had an electric saw, you can imagine how much faster you'd be able to put the flooring in, right?
Yeah.
Because you've used an electric saw, you know what it's capable of doing. Okay? The training that I provide, you haven't been through the training, and therefore you don't know what you could do in the federal market. But as a smart, relevant, contractor, you're already trying to make those next steps in your head as to what you would do in this market. But I'm here to tell you that I have perspective that you don't have, having been in this business for 35 years, that you don't have enough information yet to start establishing in your head what you would be doing if you were in this market.
Sure. Okay. Well, do you think, all right. Well, yeah, I'd be, I guess, interested in.
Because I'm here to tell you, you can make a lot more money in this business and never even consider a joint venture with anybody. You can do it all yourself.
Okay.
I never in my entire career did a joint venture. I have helped other companies do joint ventures where it made sense, but I personally never did one myself.
Okay. Under what situation did it make sense?
There was a job in Hawaii that they wanted to go after. It was very specific. And so on my members only website, I have a joint venture form, and we just put a joint venture together for them and they went after it. I don't remember the specifics, but we're talking onesie twosies over thousands and thousands of federal contracts.
Okay. All right. Well, if so where are we at? Where are we at right here? What are your?
Well, everything starts with me with this particular video that I usually make people watch before they even have a conversation with me. But you're a little bit different because you're an advanced contractor. I mean, if you're doing millions and millions of dollars worth of work with DOT, there's no reason to watch the beginning shit. I mean, really, for you, probably the best thing, just pull up this website, GCExperts.com/federal.
Okay.
I mean, most of the people that I talk to are really, residential home builders that are looking to get into the federal market, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so most of my stuff is geared towards beginners, but I would say 10% of the clients that come into my program are established federal contractors doing $30 million. In fact, I got the biggest guy I have is a $100 million a year roofer.
Interesting. Yeah. Definitely be interested in checking it. So you think I guess you got a number of different videos here. I think probably there's quite a few testimonials in it.
Yeah, just read through it. I mean, sometimes people call me and they're like, just give me the bottom line, or just, and I'm like, wait a minute, what business are you in? How long did it take you to learn what you learned to make money in that business? And you're not going to take 1 hour to sit down and go through some shit, to learn and see if this is really the direction you want to be going. And I'll just say that same thing to you. Nothing I do has anything to do with time. The federal government is spending $1 billion a day in federal government construction. No deal that's good today. You're never going to see in any of my stuff, hey, if you buy my shit now, or if you get in by the end of December, there's no pressure to anything I do. Just go through my website, start looking into who I am and what I do, go watch some videos of mine on YouTube, and just figure out what kind of guy I am, and then decide, is that the guy I want to go into this market with or not? I mean, for heaven's sake, there was no GCExperts when I started in this business. You can go knock your head against the wall and figure it out. You seem like a reasonably intelligent person, but if you want a shortcut into the market, that's really all that I am, is a shortcut.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I got a meeting here shortly. I better get prepared for. But I'll look through all your stuff, and it does seem like something I'd be interested in I think it's something I'd be interested in looking into.
Well, I called you from my personal cell phone number. Just lock me in, and if you ever have any questions or problems on federal contracts, give me a call. I guarantee you 100% I can solve any problem you'll ever have on a federal contract, and I can answer any question off the top of my head.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Well, I'll give you a holler back in, Sean.
Sounds good, Sam. Good talking to you.
Yeah. Good talking to you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.